currently the Associate Director for Business Development with the University of Massachusetts Medical School. I worked at Jackson and Wagner beginning in 1997 as an intern. I was paid $5 an hour. I was 30 years old. I was going to UNH to receive my undergraduate degree in communications. Robin Shell interviewed me with her purple high top Converse sneakers on one morning. My first client was actually Mercy Health. It was Steve Shavinsky. It was a research project. I did that for about 6 months. I think I kind of grew on people. They liked me. I got to hang around, and I ended up working there on and off for about 10 years. So I had the great fortune of working with Pat, and not only working side by side with him, but sharing an office with him. Some of my favorite memories are Friday nights. Pat often liked to work late on Friday nights, and I figured out that if you hung out on a Friday night, that's when you got the best one-on-one time with him, and the best thinking, and the best one-on-one coaching and mentoring with him. My career has spanned over between being both a public relations consultant to being the senior administrator at a hospital, running the public relations and communications and philanthropy department, and now I'm actually more in business development. And the foundations and the information that Pat shared with me in those one-on-one sessions have really, that's what I draw on today in terms of client engagement, relationship building, and really just also giving back. Pat was very much somebody who I guess raised us all to believe that it was so important to give back to the profession. And over the years, I've tried to do that as much as I can in the spirit of Pat. So I'm very thankful and I'm very blessed to have been a part of that. Thank you. Rich? Okay.
Okay. Hi, I'm Rich Bagan. I'm Executive Director of the National School Public Relations Association. We actually pronounce it called NSPRA. Pat was a major change agent for the practice of school public relations. He spoke at our seminars year after year, graciously, because he knew we were poor and he never even charged us. He picked up the expenses, and some of those car rides were pretty expensive. He just gave back so much. And one of the other things that he did over the years there, because he changed obviously the behavior approach to things, and a lot of our folks didn't even realize that, and they really came along. And year after year, it just got bigger and bigger, and we were following Pat down the hallways, and people were sitting on the floor. And, it was almost like a Pied Piper kind of thing. That where's Pat Jackson? So that was just a force in itself. But I also remember, just a little out of school tale, a little bit, that one of our conferences was in Orlando, and they actually owned property in Disney World. And you remember this? I don't know if you remember this.
No, we went there a lot for conferences. Woo! I liked that.
The pressure with our membership is about 65% female. They would bring their kids, and so at the opening night reception, we had Mickey and Minnie Mouse there, right? And so, people were getting the food and getting their drinks, and there was this long line. We really mismanaged it, but there was a real long line. And I went and I took a double take, because guess who was in line to see Mickey and Minnie Mouse? His 2 kids was Pat Jackson. And it was, that was a different side of Pat that a lot of people didn't know, but that was there too. His heart was really big, and we appreciate all that he's done for us over the years. That's why we're glad to be a sponsor today as a nonprofit, scraping that together. But, when I asked our board, and they said sure, because they knew the commitment that he made and how he changed our profession as well. So we really appreciate that.
Hi, I'm Tony D'Angelo. I completed a 30-year apprenticeship in corporate public relations, and I now teach at Syracuse University. And I love that. I'm also very active in PRSA and I'm kind of sort of worship Pat from afar from that perspective. I'm currently secretary of PRSA. Mark said a few words. Jane Dvorak is our chair-elect. Joe Troncal, our CEO, and Phil Bonaventura, our CFO, are here. So think about that. This is an organization where he was not only in the Pantheon when he was active as president, and then basically he was a force in the founding of the College of Fellows and so much else that went on, but he still has a presence in PRSA. It's remarkable when you think about it. The first time that I met Pat Jackson was in 1988. So I had black hair, I was a young agency account executive, and I was the advisor to the PRSSA chapter at Syracuse University. So he was, the event was, a professor was retiring, and maybe some of you know or remember Bill Ayling, longtime chair of the PR department at the Newhouse School at Syracuse. So big event. Maria Russell, who wanted to be here tonight but couldn't be, invited Pat to come in and be the guest speaker. And so I got to introduce Bill, and then I didn't introduce Pat Jackson, but I sort of knew the legend and so forth. And he gave, so I introduced Bill and talked about my experiences with him and so forth. And obviously he was influenced by Pat as well. And so then Pat gave up and gave a talk, and I actually remember it. And it was sort of so plain spoken, and there was no flash to it at all. And I remember he took like a piece of paper like that, and he drew a line, and he said that, you know, the 5 or 10% on this side that you're public, and the 5%, they're gonna hate you no matter what. The 5 or 10% on that side, they're gonna love you no matter what, so forget them. Work on the middle, you know? And he had this gift for saying this stuff that was indelible, you know, that you would just come away with. And so afterward, now I knew nothing and I knew no one either, you know, in the field. And befitting my stature, I got to drive to the airport. So I was doing that and so forth, and he took such an interest in me. And he, first of all, the first thing he said to me after I introduced Bill Ayling was, he looked at me and he said, "We'll be hearing from you in the future." I thought, wow, you know, geez, I didn't expect that. I didn't think that of myself. And then so we're driving to the airport, and he's asking me about my problems as this young account executive, and I said, well, you know, to tell you the truth, Mr. Jackson, I invited this big muckety-muck from Washington, D.C. to come in and speak at our PRSA chapter awards dinner. And she had problems with the date, and we moved the date twice, and then she canceled on us. And frankly, I have egg on my face, and it's a bad thing, and I'm sort of disheartened by this. And he said, you know, why don't you call her supervisor and ask if he or she has any suggestions? Oh, wow. That's an interesting bit of counsel, you know. And so he had this sort of remarkable ability. He demonstrated, one, he was interested in my problems, and this was Pat freaking Jackson in my car, which was dirty and, you know, and all of that. And he offered the formal teaching that stuck with you, and the informal advice that also came at an angle that you weren't quite expecting. And that's right.
So I think my personal encounters with Pat, maybe a little bit more like Tony's, didn't have the privilege like Gail to work with him, or Rich to have a long multi-year relationship, sort of a client relationship. I had precisely 2 brief encounters with Pat Jackson, and those encounters changed my life. Oh, I'm Joe Brennan. I'm a practitioner. I work in higher ed. It's all I've ever done. I've trained to be an English professor. I never did that. I got on the administrative track. Please forgive me. And and today I'm the vice president at SUNY Albany up the river. So, but this is what I want to tell you. I was in my first job as a director of public relations, sort of my first like kind of real professional job, and just as green as grass. And I went to the PRSA International Conference in 1997. I think that was in Nashville, Jane. It was in Nashville, wasn't it? And so I'm a total newbie, and you know, I walk around and I talk to some of the more senior people, and I'm like, hey, I'm new here. What speaker should I go to? What panel should I see? What's the can't miss stuff? Everybody says Pat Jackson, and somebody says, Joe, make sure you get there early because Pat's a popular speaker. So I'm a smart guy. I'm like, yeah, early. I'm gonna get there. So I got there 20 minutes early. Every chair was taken. So young people, when Stacy said, come and sit on the floor, that was the tradition, and I literally sat at the feet of the master, right? So Pat gives the talk, and it was a fabulous talk, and it was called Really Doing It Right, and it was laying it out why we just gotta quit with the writing news releases and faxing them out to people and really get into what this business really is. And I joined the long line of well-wishers, probably about as long as the line to go see Mickey Mouse. And I get up there, shake his hand, say thank you, things like that, right? We have a brief encounter like you do with a speaker like that. So I go back to my job, and I bought the cassette tape of his talk. Remember those things? Cassette tapes. Remember those? Yeah. So I bought the cassette tape, and I brought it back, and I gave it to my boss, the president of the college, and I said, Terry, I heard the speaker. I think he's really great. I would like to try some of the things that he is advising. And Terry listened to it, and he liked it too, so we tried some things. And we had some success. And I thought, well, I'm going to just write this Mr. Jackson a letter and say, thanks, I got a lot out of your talk. So I wrote him a letter, and a letter is a thing that you write on paper. So I send the letter off, and about a week or two later, I get a phone call, and it's June, and my name's June, and I'm from a PR reporter, and Pat Jackson asked me to give you a call and talk to you about what you're doing. So I told her the story and so on and so forth, and then a couple weeks later, I get in the mail, PR reporter, September 21st, 1998. It's in the back there, you can all read it, September 21st, 1998. And it's the front page story about what this guy named Joe Brennan is doing at Delgado Community College in New Orleans. Well, imagine how validating that is for a young practitioner. Incredibly validating. And, okay, fast forward about 4 or 5 years later, I'm in maybe my second job after that. I'm living in Toledo, Ohio. Yes, I moved from New Orleans to Toledo. Ask me about it over a drink. But I'm in Toledo, and I hear that Pat's going to be speaking at Eastern Michigan University in Ypsilanti, Michigan. I'm like, wow, that's just 45 minutes up the road. So I take two of my very best staff that I really want to develop, and I say, we have to go hear him. So we drive up to Ypsilanti, and we get there early, because I learned. We're early. We're like the first people. We walk into the classroom where Pat's going to talk, and he comes in. The host has him, comes in, and he comes right over to me, and he says, Joe Brennan, how are you? It's been a few years. You're at the University of Toledo. You're doing some really interesting work. And then he tells me a little bit about what I'm doing. I'm flabbergasted. I mean, this guy is the giant of the profession. I'm just this peon mowing the lawn, and he knows all this stuff about me. Those two encounters and everything that Pat taught us has been the foundation of my professional practice. And I sometimes hear Pat's words coming out of my mouth to my staff. Things like, people want to be served, not sold, and involved, not told. And let's stop being carpenters and start being architects. And all this fabulous stuff. So I just want to say in closing, Stacy, thank you for putting this together, and double, triple thank you for putting that fabulous website together, patrickjacksonpr.com. Hear me, young people. Go read this stuff. It's powerful medicine. Take it in small doses, but it will change your life too. It's fabulous. So I've been just so enjoying going back and reading that stuff. And what I find is I read an article, I get about halfway through, and I tweet it, or I email it to somebody and go, hey, you need to read this. So go do that and go enjoy it. So.
On that note, I have to thank, Howard Singer on the back, who designed and has put everything together for that wonderful website. And there's a lot more that we're going to be uploading, but there's a lot we don't have. So if you have those cassette tapes, if you have your notes from a lecture, if you have that kind of stuff, scan them, send them, and we will upload this stuff. And we will just keep building that whole website so that our academic friends, our practitioners have access to all the information that we were so lucky to be able to have in front of us every day. So, next question. Wonderful, wonderful understanding of your experience of him. So, how is his role? How is what he taught you about public relations as a social science